thank you all for coming. This is a great turnout for our first of what we hope will be a series. And a little background about myself, and I'm giving you this only because it really plays into the sort of the raison d'etre for this series. I'm actually a lawyer by training, and I worked at Verrill Dana for a number of years, and then I was in-house counsel doing employment law for Unum Provident Corporation for a few years. I then went out on my own and did human resource and employment law consulting. And my business transitioned through a long story, which I won't bore you with. And I now do more marketing and communications on socially responsible and sustainable initiatives. I started working with Larry about 3.5 years ago, helping educate employers on the benefits of hiring people with disabilities. And when I began doing this work with Larry, what I noticed over time was what seemed to be a pretty big gulf between the private sector for-profit businesses and the providers. And my feeling that I sort of kept coming back to was, if we could bridge these two, if we could open up these communication pathways, I think a lot more effective things could come of, and better placements and better communication and better collaboration between the for-profit and the nonprofit. Hopefully we can sort of begin this dialogue and move this conversation forward so that there is better communication and collaboration.
My name is Linda Albert, and I'm currently the Director of Human Resources at the Portland Public Library. And my background is a little bit unusual in that I was in the rehab world for 20 years and worked with all different caseloads of folks, mental health, with physical disabilities, worked a lot with developmental disabilities. And I found myself in a role as an executive director of a private agency where I started to do a lot of human resources activities. And that was how I made the transition into more of a human resources role. So right now I'm in a role in a nonprofit, so that's a key thing that's a little bit different and a little bit the same about what we're going to talk about today. I'm also active with the Human Resources Association of Southern Maine, so I'm more involved with a lot more business types of human resources folks. And there I'm the Community and External Relations board member. And in that role, one of the most fun things I've done is be involved with interviewing skill training at the Maine Correctional Center for inmates who do the Work Ready program. So that's been great, and it's been a great way for me to kind of keep my hand in working with people who have more of a hidden, what you think of as a hidden problem in the work world. I'm going to give you a little bit of a context of the library because, as I said, we are a nonprofit. We're not a city department. We're a private nonprofit corporation. And as such, we have a mission, and for us, part of our mission is to serve everybody if we can. And part of that is also, we feel strongly about serving people who are children, people who are students, the whole gamut, rich, poor alike. So we're a good place to hit up for what you're interested in, because I think we're more open-minded in some ways.
I'm Joe Novak. I'm the School to Work coordinator for the Portland schools, and I'm responsible for trying to develop work and work training situations for the entire gamut of the special education population in the city of Portland. So having been a classroom teacher for most of my career, more than 30, this is a wonderful opportunity for me to work with the huge diversity of the population that you find in a large school system like Portland. So I have, I develop situations for nonverbal wheelchair students in the functional academics programs, to the Governor Baxter School for the Deaf sub-school at Portland High School, the behavior school at West, the SAIL program, which is for students on the autistic scale at Portland High School, and everything else in between. So I'm out knocking on a lot of doors in different situations, and one of the things that I started in with at this job 7 years ago was to pick up and sustain an ongoing relationship with Linda and the Portland Public Library, and I think we've certainly been able to sustain it, and I think over time grow that relationship, and maybe that might be helpful to some of you out there today.
Really a large part of why we felt this might be productive, or we hope this would be productive. I also want to just kind of throw out there quickly, I'm really interested in hearing what would be helpful for you. What information do you feel like you want from the private sector that we could somehow get for you, whether it's in the form of bringing employers or whether it's in the form of, you know, a presentation on marketing. You know, a couple of the topics we had bounced around. One was sort of how do you develop business connections and network with businesses? What are some good opportunities and some ways to go about doing that? And we might talk a little bit about some of the online resources. Another one that kind of came up throughout today's conversation is what are some of what is the business case for employment of people with disabilities, and how can you really make that in a compelling way? That's sort of near and dear to my heart. But any other ideas that you have, you know, whether you want to write them down and give them to us or send an email or I don't know, shout them out right now, but we really, I hope this has been helpful. It's been great from our perspective. There's been a lot of really great discussion, and you know, we hope to continue more. And now I will hand, I won't hand the mic over, but the suspense will end now with Vanessa.
Well, first I wanted to thank you, Mary, Joe, and Linda for attending today.